And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Digital Dialogue series. We are talking Black confidence, and we've got plenty in here today that can tell you all about it. My name is Tawana Bain. I'm the founder of the Derby Diversity Business Summit in Jedi, and I am so excited to bring this conversation. There was a young lady that came to an event last week, and she's being promoted and she's realizing that she's got to work on her confidence. And so there are a lot of Black professionals right now that are being placed into leadership positions for the first time, and we want to help them bring all of their confidence in the building. Before we get started, if everyone would just introduce yourself and tell our viewers a little bit about you. Tracy, will start with you, then Chris, Stacy, and of course, my co-host, Sharina.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Tracy Fortson, and I am a nonprofit executive. I've worked in the nonprofit field for over 20 years. I am an arts and culture and social impact consultant. I work with a number of clients on promoting and advancing their work in that space. And on my social platforms, my name is Tracecapades, which is my first name, Tracy, mixed with the word escapades, because I'm all about adventure. I'm Tracecapades, and my hashtag is art is a weapon. And so on those platforms, I really promote and explore the intersections and between art, culture, and activism, and really the transformative power of art, particularly Black art, and what that means in advancing social change. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Washington, but nobody ever calls me that. My professional name is the legendary Chris Washington. I'm a professional DJ. I also coach varsity sports at LaSalle Academy in New York. I'm the varsity soccer coach and the varsity baseball coach. And as of last year, I am the alumni trustee on the board for Howard University. So my main background has been in the entertainment industry, and I really got my teeth cut doing college marketing with a hashtag of doing HBCU marketing for all of our artists, even some of the rock artists. And through that program, I was able to, let's just say, launch the careers of about 200 college influencers, because I had a college rep program, and I put them far and I put them wide, and I gave them training and exposure into the business that they might not have ever gotten. Those are my kids. And that's been a good 20 plus years. Most of them are grown with their own families, but we're still in touch. So I think, when we talk about, our culture and what that's a big part of it, is making sure that we're able to give back. And I've been fortunate to be able to do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Hi, I am Stacy Gray. I am a celebrity hair and makeup artist. I've worked in the entertainment field for over 25 years. If you name any 10 celebrities, I've probably worked with 7 of them. I have recently became a agency owner, where now I've taken on a position of representing other. Oh wow, okay. So that lady. Okay, all right. I've taken on the joy, my passion of supporting other people and helping other hair and makeup artists, photographers, and stylists to live their dream of working in the industry and working with entertainers. I recently have also switched into the lane of, I've started a not-for-profit called the Children's Peace Movement, where we have a group where I'm a mother first. Been a hair and makeup artist for a long time, but I'm a mother of 2 beautiful children, 13 and 11, and where I'm focusing on teaching them how to become the change and not just sit back and watch and wait, but to participate in change. So we've been doing rallies. We've been, my son is nominated for Time Kid of the Year for writing different speeches. Okay, I'm gonna leave that lighting alone. Writing speeches and informing the youth on how to be a change maker and be an integral part of the change and not just waiting for it to happen.
Awesome.
Throw the slide away.
Hello, everyone. I am Sharina Fox. I'm the co-host of Up Today, and I'm also program director with Jedi. You all are amazing. A little bit about myself. I too have a 13-year-old. Well, getting ready to be a 13-year-old, so I'm going crazy. Uh,
Enjoy it.
oh
Enjoy
gosh.
it.
However, aside from the work that I do with Tawana, I also have a pretty large Facebook group of about 15,000 moms that I manage. It's called Airplane Mode. The deal is to put your mask on before, just like when you're on a plane, you put your mask on before you can help the person beside you. I think oftentimes as mothers, we do so much for our kids and we forget about ourselves. So the group is really about, giving back to ourselves, giving advice to each other. Um, so with that, that's kind of what I do. I too am a mom first, and everything else just falls in line.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So yeah, so there's a lot of Black professionals, some that have really just been in the background, for years and hadn't been given opportunities for leadership roles. And they are finding themselves really trying to tap into a level of confidence in this unknown kind of territory because it's happening so quickly. For all of you, you're talking about dealing with college students, dealing with youth, intersecting with the arts and dealing with professionals in that space. Confidence really does matter because it definitely sets the tone in any relationship, at any meeting, and whether or not a person believes that you are capable and being able to execute and pull something off. Tracy, when you think about everything that's transpiring and a lot of people being placed into these roles or just everything that's happening in general, how are you helping them to embrace their confidence right now?
So one of the things that I think is important for all of us to remember is we are all humans, and we are here, unique, gifted, creative. And you have to start from a space of acknowledging and embracing that part of you. And that you're going to be challenged. I mean, even today is a challenge for me, quite honestly. I am never the one in front of the camera. I am always the one talking to other people, promoting other people's work, supporting other people. I enjoy that role. And just today, I had to tap into some confidence for myself. I've been public speaking for over 20 years, and here I am for the first time talking with you lovely people. And so I feel like every day is a challenge to remember who you are, and that ultimately you are put in those positions simply because you are supposed to be there. And just by virtue of that, walk in that power and tap into that idea that I'm here because I'm supposed to be here, as opposed to worrying about am I right for this space? You were picked for this space, and that's why you're here. And so it's a challenge, no matter how old you are, no matter how long you've worked in a field. You really have to tap into this, into believing and understanding that you are here, you're purposed, you're creative, you're brilliant, and you are called for this moment. So this is your moment, and let's shine. So that's yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I am very curious, Stacey, when you talk about adding this to, making sure that your children really understand to really embrace it. Don't just sit back and watch it. How are you helping in really in fueling that? And what are some of the things that you find that they're probably inspiring you, right? When you watch them get out? Because I'll tell you, my children and a lot of the young people around me have motivated and inspired me and boosted my confidence in many instances.
It's interesting because even before I became a parent, I had a concept of my traumas won't be their traumas. So I went out of my way to not expose them to what I was exposed to as a child, but in turn, I began to over pamper them and not really realizing that the meat of my life, the parts that weren't always so pretty, gave me the grit, the confidence to go to certain things. I'm like, wow, I made it through that. Oh, and I made it through that. And I made it over that, when it was always stacked against me. So, in watching my children, giving them leverage, a little, I'm very active in who they are. I'm constantly, anything they show me interest in, okay, let's try it. Even if I don't do the $900 course, we're gonna do this 20. We're gonna get you in there just to see if it's something you're really interested in, and really allowing them to explore who they are. And behind that, my key phrase and key motivation to them is just remember, you have to be a contributing citizen to this world. No matter what you decide to do, there has to be you have to have some sort of contribution. Like, what are you bringing to the world? Like, that is a constant question, constant reminder. And to see them really take that on, because as a parent, you don't get the instant gratification of you're doing a great job, they got it, circumstances have to come. And you say, oh wow, okay, he made the right choice, thank you God, I'm doing something right. So in allowing them to go through some of life's hurdles, to kind of like be somewhat hands off. Like, my son is now taking the train to school by himself for the first time, but he's in like an amazing school where, like, let him do this. And so to see them step up, make sure he calls me when he gets there, calls me when he's on his way, like really taking on responsibility, not calling him my baby anymore. Look at this young man, really speaking words of not only encouragement, but speaking life into what I really want to see in my babies, but also giving them the opportunity to choose, realize, like, I only got them for a little while. So why you got them, like, just let's fill them up with, it's almost like a computer. Let's fill them up with the right information, fill them up with the right data, and hopefully they'll be able to decipher through those folders that I've given them and pick out what they need, but I'm just, very proud of at their decisions and what they're doing, and really understanding, like, I'm a single mom, so I'm learning at simultaneously, giving myself a little break, giving myself a little, like, it's very rare that I give myself a pat on the back, but I can look at my babies and go, you did that, girl, you're doing that.
I love
just
it.
empowering them as much as I can.
I'll tell you, there's nothing like feeling like your kids made the right decision, because all the times when they don't, it's like, Lord, when is this going to be over? So there's nothing like it.
How do you get over there?
In your situation, you were the legendary Chris. You've been working with young people for a long time, so you've seen all spans, right? When it comes to confidence. Now that many of them have kind of gone on, what are some of the key things that you all have discussed that you feel really contributed to the confidence that they had in being able to serve in the entertainment space or whatever space they ended up taking on?
To be quite honest, the conversations I have with them really center around, we didn't really understand what you were teaching us when we were in school. With the, because I made them do a full run of things. If they wanted to have an artist come to campus, just for instance, was you need to send me a plan, right? To send me a marketing plan. They had monthly reports. I was running it the way my bosses were running me. And all of our bosses, we had monthly reports that I had to turn in. We had radio tracking. So I made sure that we incorporated all that into the program. And, when I first got the big break at Atlantic Records, I came in under somebody who had just moved over to Atlantic Records from Procter & Gamble, right? So he was my boss. I spent a year and a half working at WXRK here in New York, which was K-Rock at the time, which was the station of Howard Stern, right? And I worked in their marketing department. So when we got together at Atlantic, I took what I learned at K-Rock, which again, Howard Stern, and this is where the difference is. I love all my urban artists, and my urban jocks and all that, but nobody was billing like Howard Stern.
That's true.
So I was working there. So I took what I was doing there, and we merged it with his Procter and Gamble style, right? So now we're teaching these college kids, what is basically a million and billion dollar industry if you combine the earnings from Howard Stern and Procter and Gamble.
Wow.
So we talk about that as their jump off, as giving them the opportunity not only to succeed, but the opportunity to fail. but failing under the guidance of, don't worry, I'm not going to yell at you. But this is a learning experience, and it was a learning experience for all of us because I was making a lot of it up on the fly. Talk about confidence. The people up top say, "Hey, can you do this job?" And you say, "Are you paying me?" And you say, "Yeah, I can do it." And then you just you work your way through it.
Right.
You throw things up and you see what happens. So my kids, when we talk now, a lot of it is, hey, boss, you gave us that opportunity. And sometimes it's some of these kids only really need the opportunity.
But what you say is really key, right? And Sharina, I'm definitely curious about your thoughts on this too, because so often opportunities will be presented and we really don't believe enough in ourselves to grasp on and seize it, right? And then, like I was actually sharing, I had this exact conversation with someone last week because I presented an opportunity, and after I presented the opportunity, she was like, "Oh no, I don't think I can do that right now." And then I was looking at the things that she was already working on, which I said to myself, if she doesn't take this opportunity, this new project is going to become a competitor to what she's already doing. So I said, let's get on the phone and make sure that she fully understood everything that I said, right? Because that's how those misunderstandings come into play. So I called her back and I said, listen, I just wanted to go back over in fine detail what this project is and why you are the best person to lead it. I said, because if not, my gut tells me that someone else who ends up taking this on, you have now created competition for yourself. Yeah. And then you're going to be upset. Like, well, wait a minute now, that she didn't explain all that, right? So sometimes having the confidence to really take something on and being okay if you're already doing it, right? Connecting those dots. But I think we create competition for ourselves and don't have to because we're just not really thinking through what a person's presenting. Yeah. But Sharina, I'm curious. I feel like a lot of people pass up opportunities and they don't realize what they're passing up.
So on that note, I think that I have passed up plenty of opportunities, especially being like, I'm still young, and learning that what you went to school for is not necessarily what you will be doing with your life. Because, like you go to school and you're like, as a kid, you're like, this is the degree, I should use it because I paid all this money and now I'm in debt a little bit. So it's like, I want to use this, and you become, like kind of like a one-trick pony in what you're looking for. And so then when it comes to, like for me, finally getting out of my own head and realizing like, I've never been a one-trick pony. I've always been the type of person that I'm creative, I'm this, I'm that. I'm multifaceted. Like I can do so much more. And then it took other people seeing in me what I'm not gonna say I didn't see it in myself, but I had to like revisit it and say, okay, now this might be something to say, like, when somebody tells you to stay in your lane, like this way. So I could be feeling, that I could be filling up, and then learning your intersection, like where can you be good at this and good at that, and where can they cross paths and meet to where you can say, I can do it all, and I can become, because I'm still becoming. So learning that part, like I said, I'm still young, so I'm still learning that process, but being around people who are like, here you go, what you gonna do with it? It helps out a lot to push you forward.
Yeah, I like to say I'm still young too. So
me too.
So, when we think about this topic, Black confidence, right? We have a lot of allies now who are leaning in. They're more woke than they've ever been, that don't really understand why this conversation is taking place. Like, why is Black confidence so important? We all inherently know why we have to really pour confidence, not just because we want our kids to just be great, but we recognize that what they say, if you stand for anything and fall for everything, or whatever the way in which they phrase it. but you have to have the ability to understand why Black confidence is so critical. You're already in a world where you do have things that are stacked up against you, or you do have people with specific biases, or you do have people telling you to stay in your lane. How do you go about demonstrating that confidence? How do you pull from that confidence and in a very, I want to say, professional manner, let them know what you're not going to tolerate, right? Because if you don't have the confidence to do that, and you already have all these other things stacked up against you, it's very difficult for you to have a voice. Yeah. It's very difficult for you to push back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I will add that it is really important. I think the thread here with everybody's experiences is the importance of mentors, and not in the way that we think of mentors as this older person or somebody in authority. It's really about, and this is why it's so important around being culturally aware. And this is why I do the work that I do, and why I'm passionate about it. We are surrounded by people who are creative, motivated, smart, empowering, and also people that have done the same or been in the same space that you've been in. And so it is necessary and really required for all of us at every stage in our lives to be surrounded by support. And that could be in the form of a mentor in the professional sense, but also being around people who fill you, people that reinforce who you are. And also to talk about when you don't see yourself in certain spaces, there are people around you that see things in you that you didn't pay attention to. And I think that also comes from, we live in a world that our value is based on money, material things. We're not encouraged a lot of times to actually tap into what we're passionate about and what the things that we love to do, the things that come naturally to us, right? And so if that's not reinforced, you find yourself in spaces where you're not confident because it's not really what you want to do. And so the at every stage in my life, and I don't have kids, and God bless all of you parents during this pandemic with children. Whew. But I mentor in the sense of younger women, younger Black women who are moving in corporate spaces. And, my advice to them is to really listen to yourself and find those people that are going to pour into you, because you will have to speak up for yourself. We can practice what the language can be, right? We all know that we need to code switch at certain times, right? We know how we need to navigate certain things. But in your core, if you're doing things that are innately true to who you are and you're passionate about it, you cannot fail. And I have to keep telling myself that. And in the times when I do fail, I know that I took the risk, but I give myself grace because I give everybody else around me grace. So I think it's really important that we tap into what we're passionate about and also pull from the resources that are around us. There's a reason why we're all sitting on this panel right now in this moment. There's a reason that people are listening to us right now. It is because there's so many resources to help us and guide us along our journey. So,
I think part of that also, when you say your support group, it's again, my family did not. My passions were into something else, right? But I can still hear from my mom, "Oh, you could have been a great doctor." No, I don't like blood that much. That's not really what I wanted to do.
Right.
But I think it's twofold. You got to have a good crew, and in college, I was fortunate, very fortunate, to have a good crew from my freshman year, who supported me. But I think not only do you have to have a good crew, and it's not just about yes people. As I moved up, especially when I was president for the Howard University Alumni Association, and now that I'm on the board, it's very important that there are also people that might not have your same opinion or might not have your same viewpoint, because that conversation becomes a real tipping. It becomes your sounding board, because you might think one thing, but you need those people to provide another point of view, whether or not you agree with it is a totally different story. But at least you have people there that are willing to speak up, and you also have to have people who are willing to listen to your viewpoint as well and rebuttal to what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's sometimes where, and I'm not one to be very confrontational. So being able to have that type of dynamic dialogue, because it can get heated.
Mm-hmm.
That's also, I think, very critical as any of us go, and who's going to be our core people.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be our inner circle, and will that inner circle not just agree with everything I say, but also push me to think differently,
Mm-hmm.
provide different viewpoints to help me grow.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And there's also
Please go ahead.
No, and there's also a statement that always says if you're the smartest in the room or the smartest in your crew, you might need to change your circle. I remember hearing Steve Jobs once say, Steve Jobs, it's not like anyway, he once said he doesn't hire people. Steve Jobs said, I don't hire people so I can tell them what to do. I hire people to tell me what to do.
Yep.
Meaning you surround yourself with people who are excellent in whatever it is that they do. Yeah. Whatever their choosing field is. And as long as, their intention is not to hurt or to take or to stop anybody else from their walk. I'm a hair and makeup artist, but I just as you said earlier, I'm very creative. I have other gifts and talents. Mm-hmm. And I once read that everyone, there are three things. There's your work, there's your gifts, and there's your purpose.
Yeah.
Everyone must work regardless. You may not work in your gift. If you're lucky, I'm lucky that I get to work in one of my gifts. Yeah. Here is one of my gifts. And I'm lucky that I get to generate an income in one of my gifts. But right now, I'm actively pursuing my purpose. Yeah. What is my service? What will my service be to the world? Absolutely. And so once you really get to that place where you realize, I don't have to be right. I'm so happy that I got that. I'm so happy that at this age, like if you don't get it, I'll offer you a bit of information, a bit of advice, or a way to go. If you don't want it, it's okay. I respect that. I like keep walking your walk. You don't have to be right anymore. I just want to share and serve.
Yep.
That's my goal.
It's interesting because I've classified them as career, hobbies, and purpose. And so I love that way because that's how I've classified things. But the two things that you said there, Stacey, that really took me back. The first is you need confidence in order to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you.
Exactly.
If you are operating from a position of lack or fear, you will not place people that are better than you around you. I shouldn't say better, but smarter.
But I know what you mean.
At something, because you are too afraid of them dimming your light. Yeah. And so that's another reason why your confidence really does matter is you've got to be able to move in your career, your gift, or your purpose, whatever it is, with so much confidence and understanding that what's mine is mine. Yeah, right? Exactly. What's mine is mine. And so if you're not there, you're not going to be able to place yourself around or at the center of people that might have be smarter or book smarter or more financially literate or whatever, because you're too afraid. Yeah. And then the second thing that was said, having somebody that looks like you. So my girlfriend, Dia, we go way back. I mean, like so far back that when she started dropping names, I was on her podcast or virtual show last night, Power Push. I'm gonna give y'all the plug because I think she's dope. But we haven't spoken in years, and she reached out on Facebook, and she's just like, "Sis, I'm just so inspired by you." And so I wanted to say yes. I wanted to say yes to my friend that I've since moved on. But when we were sitting there on the show, right, talking for the first time in years, I'm like, "Dang, Dia, how exactly did we meet?" And she said, "I came to your house." And I'm like, "Well, who brought you to my house?" And she said one name. She said, "Girl, my cousin Davana," and my whole face. Life has happened. I done moved on and had kids, and you done filed stuff back in dark holes that we don't even remember. We have to pull them out. Mm-hmm. But I said, "Oh my God, Davana." Yeah. Davana made me feel like, baby, I could do anything and I could be anybody I want to be. And I was that girl before meeting Davana and some of my other girlfriends that was so afraid because my mother moved us out to an all-white neighborhood, grew up in white culture, so I couldn't make Black friends. It was so hard. I'm like, can I do 2 or 3? Can I do They was like, wait a minute, honey, where did you come from? And they kind of came in, loved on me, but that confidence made me realize I can be myself. I can be anybody I want to be.
Yeah.
So it is so important as women, as men, to demonstrate that confidence and to show that confidence, especially for those, that are watching. And speaking of, Chris, because we've talked about young girls, but when young men don't have that confidence, or a figure who has any sort of confidence. And, and I want to also be clear that, Devonna had that bold confidence. I tell people that she couldn't be worried. She was unapologetic, right? But that's not just, there's so many different ways in which you can demonstrate confidence. It doesn't necessarily have to be bold and out loud. You can just be confident in your craft, confident in your knowledge, confident in where you're going. And so why is that so important? And how have you been able to pour in to the young men that have crossed your paths, Chris?
So it starts out with me not being that confident, right? And that goes back to my high school days. I was fortunate enough. I moved through 2-3 different high schools before, 1 year we settled on one because the school I was at, unfortunately closed. So I was thrown into a position. I was a new kid. I was a junior. Everybody had been in the other school for the first 2 years already. And me and some other kids transferred over, and I landed in on the baseball team. So I was able to, win a city championship there, but my confidence still wasn't that good.
Mm-hmm.
And because my support group around me wasn't all that, let's just say, they were caring, but not, hey, dude, you can do it. So my confidence really started to grow probably, I would say, towards my second semester at Howard. Again, it was, and you talk about not being, being in an all white or at a predominantly white high school, whatever, predominantly white college. I think for me going to Howard, and again, it was purely speculative luck that I ended up there. But it turned out to be one of the best decisions that I never made. The short story is my friends said we're all going to go to Howard and play football. None of them ever showed up. I was there. Yay for me,
right.
Because it turned out to be, one of the great loves of my life. And there it was, a bunch of people, a bunch of alpha dogs, and I meant dogs and guys and girls, just using that, a bunch of alphas trying to make their way through. And I was able to settle into a groove with people who did not push me to do anything that I didn't necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I am so envious of people that had the chance to go to an HBCU. I'm like, and I was cracking up. I had this producer. We were talking for a show that she does, and she had her cracking up about my lived experience, living in this all white culture and then trying to fit into the Black culture and just and she was like, honey, listen, I understand. My parents did the same thing. She said, so I went to the HBCU just because I knew that that's what it was going to take for me to get my life together.
Yeah,
and I was myself like, man, but that is so critical and it's so key. And there's a program here. I think the West End Boys School, W.E.B. Du Bois Academy that we have here in Louisville, and watching the hands-on approach that they have with their students and their creed and investing in them to let them know who they are and where they're going. And just the difference in those affirmations, Chris, back to what you were saying.
Yeah, well, and I take that with me because I work in an all-boys Catholic high school, right? It's a smaller LaSalle Academy is on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. So a lot of the kids here are Latin descent, African American descent. So the dichotomy of what these kids go through, it's sort of similar, and it's me being able to say, hey, this is what you can do. I can help you I can help you get there. So you talk about, I never thought I'd end up coaching because I've always still been playing, but being able to coach these kids, and now that I've gone through 2 or 3 classes and kids are coming back, and it's funny, I ran into one of my guys on the street the other day. He was coming home from work. I was coming in from practice, and we would talk. I asked him if he was still playing, if make sure he was in school and everything, and he frankly said, I'm not playing baseball anymore. I sort of lost the love of the game for something that happened with some of his other coaches. And then he said, now I realize now all the coaches are like you and Coach P, which is my athletic director, one of my best friends, because we try and take the time out to care for the boys that are here, not just on the field, but academically, socially, on the train. This is how you act. Don't go around because people are already watching. We want to make sure, that comes through. And again, they might not get it right away, but the hope is that at some point down the line, something will tingle and they'll reach back and say, oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it now. And it happens at different rates. Again, I went through Howard, I sort of went there and I was happy to be there, but my real confidence and my real maturing, I got it after I graduated.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, but I realized part of that getting it happened at Howard,
Yep.
but for me, and everybody takes differently,
Yep.
things cycle through and finally something clicks and you say, oh,
yeah.
And then you become really okay with Stacey, what you're saying, and to be yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I just wanted to add to that. It did start with me growing up in New York in the 70s in Harlem during the height of the Black Power movement. There I am aging myself. All of my teachers, almost all of my teachers were Black. Some of the first things that I learned were about Black artists. And Black activists, and my teachers had dashikis and afros, right? And so that's what I was born into. I was birthed into that. And you don't really, like you said, Chris, sometimes it comes later, right? So I just thought that everybody felt like this, right? I thought everybody was, I'm Black and I'm proud. I really did think that until my parents moved to the suburbs of Maryland. And I encountered people that didn't think like that. That's the nice way to put it. And so all of that training or all of that understanding or all those things that were poured into you is tested at some point. And, your confidence, you're shaking a little bit like, wait a minute, this isn't how the world operates. And so, and the Howard connection is really funny too, because the reason I know Chris is because one of my mentors who happens to be one of my best friends in the world is Deidre Tate. And she went to Howard and she worked with you guys. And Deidre has always been the one that's like, we can do anything. You can do anything, Amen. So I call myself an honorary bison. And but it's really important, again, that you're surrounded in your culture, immersed in your culture, whether it is your elementary school, whether it is your family gatherings. I grew up going to the Studio Museum of Harlem. So I was always immersed in that. And it wasn't until I went out into the world that I realized they don't care. They're not looking at you like you're special the way you think you are. And then what do you do? So you do find yourself later in life or at different points in your life looking for your tribe, looking for the people that will continue to pour into you and to help you to build your confidence and continue to build your confidence. And that's the other thing, right? We're all evolving still at our big ages, right? So your confidence is tested at different times, whether you're taking on a new challenge, you're stepping into a new role, all of those things, but you still have, again, your group of people, your core of people, your tribe of people. And I look to, again, arts and culture. I listen to music from the greats. I listen to, I look at art, visual art. I read poems, I read books. We are so creative. and imaginative and done so many things. And so I'm inspired by that. And so when my confidence is lagging, I have so many pieces to pull from, whether it's people, whether it's art, whether it's our culture, to remind me exactly who I am and why I'm here. So
I love that.
And another integral part, and I don't mean to interrupt her, is that we also there's one of my favorite songs, a gospel song, is that sometimes you have to encourage yourself too.
Absolutely.
Like, so early on in life, I was able to see my grandmother raised me. I was able to see a lot. She raised me, but she also raised over 61 foster kids in her lifetime. And so at a very young age, even though I was living with my grandmother, I was able to see real trauma, like people really going through something.
Yeah.
People my age. So early on, I got like, it could always be worse. And you have the opportunity, you have the mindset, you have, and mind you, I didn't even know that I had cultivated that. I just knew, even though I was in a similar situation as the foster kids, it's just that it was my grandmother. I still didn't have my paternal mother and father. I still had an air, for lack of a better term, of, but at least, at least I'm in my grandmother's house. And not to judge their walk, to even actually have more sympathy for their walk. Because I'll go to school or places and, did you see, why did she do that? Or why did she wear that? Or do you know what her uncle did to her? Do you know what her father, like understanding a situation from an inside place where I was able to have a different level of compassion, and a capacity for compassion, but also take pride in like who I am and where I am.
Well, and that's one of the things you mentioned, when it comes down to celebrities, you've probably done at least 7 out of 10 of their hair, right? So I'm not,
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you. I was like in the rooms, like really, really hear who they are.
Right.
Right. How you see them and how, and not judging anybody, but really like, wow, you on the phone. Wow, that's what you're dealing with.
Right.
That's your mindset.
Right. Which is, and I'm going to need to come back to that because I was having a conversation with some of my mentees about that too. Being careful in associating confidence with counterfeit, right? And I really want to come back. I want to come back to that. So please, can we park that, Sharina? Don't let me miss confident versus counterfeit. Yeah. When it comes down to dealing with, people can be starstruck, right? They can be extremely starstruck. Now, whether or not it's valid, we're going to come back to counterfeit versus counterfeit. What I want to say is it takes a very strong person to be able to not get caught up, right? I'm your stylist. I still have my expectations. I still have the way that I run my business. And that is not an easy thing to do, right?
I'm the auntie. I'm everybody's auntie. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to really give you what you want to hear because you want to hear it because you can sing a note or you can make a beat. Like, really, what my whole thing, like, what's your contribution? Like, what you really doing?
Exactly.
What you really doing?
Right. And, to that point, falsifying and building up people for their egos, right? I'm going to need people to stop that.
Immediately.
I'm going to need y'all to stop building up people because you want to be in the circle or you want to be in the mix because you really are just contributing to the counterfeitism.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Uh-oh. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
She froze. Okay,
there you
froze.
Okay.
Repeat yourself, honey.
So you can have a star walk in the room, and I'm like, okay, that's nice. But what really gets me nervous is like it's like some major business person, right? So we all have our things. So they're like, the CEO of such and such is getting ready to come, and I'm like, oh my God, like I got to get myself together. But when it comes to stars, it doesn't. But either way, there needs to be a level and an ability to hold your own when you're in those spaces. And I come, Chris, I'm thinking about, serving as a trustee on the board of one of the most major HBCUs. I cannot even imagine the people that you come into contact with on a daily, weekly, hourly basis. Because when you're in these spaces or what I like to call prominent places or positions, you're going to be in the company of other prominent people. So what are some of the tips or just tools that we can share with our community about how to manage and balance that without becoming counterfeit? And we're going to get back to the counterfeit.
I'm ready.
Sit back, take a deep breath. And for me, I can tell you I was nervous to all get out. And mind you, some of the people who are on the board, are people I've known for years because of my previous service as president of the Alumni Association. So there was some sort of familiarity with some of them, and I think that helped. Again,
but you were still nervous, even though you were familiar with them.
Yes, because this is the board. This is the board of my alma mater. And as you know, everybody will tell you, because we're all proud Bison, and now I have a chance to help shape the direction for the foreseeable future. So hopefully my daughter, freshman class 2030, it's for her. So it's for her. So you sit there and I'm telling you, it just takes a while to be comfortable, to get comfortable in that space. And what did it for me, again, my other side, the DJ side of me, right? So we can be at a board meeting, but I can be at a party or that same night, and some of those members of the board are there listening and they know what I do because I've been doing this. Some of them, we've grown up together. So that gives me a little bit more confidence. Like, oh, yeah, he might not say anything, but he's in the party with me. We're good. And that helped me. That really helped me to relax. And then, it was a couple of phone calls. Am I doing okay? Are we? You're doing fine. You're good. So, and again, it's one of those things where I've had more familiarity with some of this because this has been a journey, and working in the music industry and being around and on the artist side and being on the radio. So I've been on both sides, so but it's still, when you step into a new arena, I think if you're not nervous, then something's wrong. The nervousness was good, and I'm over it. I'm over it now.
Yeah, like you human, just like I'm a human. You got two kidney, two lungs.
Right. So now you have work to do. But I think being able to cultivate that, and again, it's about experience.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
It's about experience, and it's about as much exposure that we can give to our kids, and the exposure that you can give, and the exposure that somebody can take. Again, we've all missed opportunities. I sit back and say, did I miss that opportunity a couple of years ago? Or just the other day, did I not return a phone call to get that contract in? Am I missing something, especially in the DJ world? So it's a lot, but I think I draw on all that when I'm in board meetings, and I sit back and just say, you know what? I've got to speak my piece. I'm here for a reason. I was elected. I'm sorry. They chose me to be on the board. It was a boards appoint themselves.
Yes.
I was chosen to be here.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to waste my opportunity. Let me say what I got to say. Everybody doesn't have to agree with it, but I'm going to say it and put it out there, and we'll move on.
Yeah. I'll tell you, in hearing that, it reminds me of I text one of my girlfriends, and I said, I need you to get me a prominent speaker, and I need them by such and such a date. And her response was, but you are a prominent speaker.
Wow. I love that.
I stopped for a moment, and I was like, oh, yeah.
That's your friend. That's your friend.
That's your right. That's your friend.
That's your tribe. Yep.
Woo. All right. Now let's talk about this counterfeit thing, right? Because it's real. And you have some of them that are leading, right? Leading the blind, or what do they say? The blind leading the blind. And Stacey, I did notice you said, I don't know. We're all human, right? We're all human here. And I think there's something to be said about that, right? We are all human. And so for those people, because I have watched, and it's kind of funny, the name of our organization Jedi. And I tell people all the time, I think it's funny that we landed on that pronunciation because people are playing Jedi mind tricks all
day.
time.
Faking it till they make it.
Okay.
Right.
And so, but I had to have the conversation and they were like, well, no, they got this and they got that. I said, but how do you really know?
Yeah.
But not even how do they really know? Like, what does that mean?
Ooh.
Because anybody can acquire material things with a little
Absolutely.
perseverance. Like, I could take a loan out and acquire certain things, but really, like, what are you doing
Yes.
with the life that you were given?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm looking at. Like, I don't care what you got. I've seen a bunch of miserable millionaires.
Ooh.
That's what I've seen
Miserable
so many
millionaires.
miserable millionaires. It's not. I'm telling you, they got to take a drink before they take a picture.
Mm.
And you know, they're not judging anybody. I say that a lot, but just want you to know, like, I'm just giving you my experience. I've seen a lot of miserable millionaires.
Yeah.
Well, really, how you feeling? Like, what you doing? Like,
Yeah.
what are you really bringing to when you leave? I hate to say it, and I don't want to be like Nipsey Hussle was big for me because while he was doing what he was doing when he passed, I'm sure he had no idea the impact that he would leave on just people paying attention to legacy, finances. Like, he talked about that a lot
all the
while
time.
he was
Yeah.
alive, but it didn't really hit till his passing. Let me get my credit together and go ahead and get this book. You know what I'm saying? And God forbid the death of Kobe. We all loved Kobe as a great athlete, but his death taught about family. It taught about, you know, really paying attention and surrounding yourselves with the ones that you love. Like, he was an amazing father. So you don't really, what you have, maybe I'm, you know, we all 70s babies, not all of us, no mama in the corner, but we all, you know, so, exactly, but we're not judging. I mean, I can't give you such high accolades because that's my job to make you look a certain way.
Yeah.
I know how you walked in here.
Yeah. Ooh. I mean,
well,
yeah,
and
well,
I'm do it with love and respect and as much as I can, you know, act right, we'll get along well. But you know, if not, I may take the opportunity to tell you a little bit about yourself in a loving way, because I'm your auntie. I'm godmommy. I need to talk to you. Come here, baby. Come here, baby. Let me pull you to the side. Talk to you real quick. I love you.
Right.
But you know, we're gonna talk.
Right.
And listen, nobody want to fall out with their hairstylist. I'm telling you.
Ever. Hairstylist or makeup artist.
Listen,
I really love you. Like,
listen. I'm trying to tell you, the struggle is real. So biting your tongue real quick and real.
I don't do hair for money. It's funny. I probably be a lot further than where I am. I really don't do hair for money. Like, I really enjoy serving people. Like, I'm a nurse as well. I was a nurse before I became a hairstylist. I like taking care of people. I like making people feel better.
Yeah.
Reminding you that there's another place you can be other than where you're choosing to resonate. You know, I feel like I'm a reminder. Like, I'm gonna remind you. I'm a reminder. I want to be a reminder. The possibilities of, like, you don't have to be here. Let's be great.
Let's be great. Let's be great. Well, it is 2:56. We've got 4 minutes left before we head over to networking. I would like for all of you to just give some final thoughts to everyone when it comes to Black confidence. Number one, why it is so critical. We need it. We absolutely need it. We have those that are stepping into leadership, and we need them to be leading with confidence, whether it is out loud or they feel it on the inside. And then for those that are coming behind us, we need to make sure they've got a lot that they're getting ready to be up against once they fly out in that big world. And so confidence really does matter, and specifically Black confidence. But if all of you will just leave with a few final remarks, we'll go ahead and wrap up and final comment.
I think I want to leave with the idea again. It's so funny. I started off talking about at the beginning of the conversation, we're all human. Let's remember that. And here we are, full circle, talking about our humanity, right? So I thought that was interesting. I want to leave with the idea again of we're all learning, we're all on a journey. Give yourself grace, take those risks, and really allow yourself to be surrounded by people who pour into you. And recognize, again, you're here, you're divinely gifted and purpose simply because you're here. It starts there. Remind yourself of that. And when you forget those things, be sure that you have a tribe of people who look like you, who are different ages, people younger, people older, a tribe of people that pour into you, because this world will deplete you if you let it. And also find those things that bring you joy. You know, the idea that Black joy is some radical notion, but honestly, in a world like this, it is. You know, you have to find those joyful spaces. So when you're not feeling so confident, there is something that, you know, that led you to feel better about yourself or feel better about the world. So go dance, go look at art, go find. It's so much Black culture out here to explore. Go listen to good songs, go dance, go spend time in the museums, go read great books. There's so much that we can draw from and pull from. So yeah, I think that surround yourself with Black brilliance and Black excellence, and that is how you're going to keep your Black confidence.
Yeah, I think you know, for me, it's try and find yourself as quickly as possible. I did not always start out being legendary, although you can't tell me that now.
I think you came here legendary, Chris. You just didn't know.
So right, so there are some people who only know me as legendary and have no idea where that came from. Yeah. And I'm okay with that because it adds to the legend. So who cares? You know, but it's one of those things where I found it stuck, and I try and make that a part of who I am, even if I'm talking about myself in the third person. But I'm okay with that, and people around me, they have to be okay with that. If they're not, then they don't necessarily have to be around, and I'm okay with that. Right. I'm okay at this point with being me, and it's taken me a long time to get there. So I think that's my giveaway, my takeaway is for you and whoever you are to try and find who you are as quickly as possible. But also you don't have to rush the process. You know, it'll come when it comes, but hopefully when you get there, you recognize that you're here, and then you move.
Well, I agree with Chris 100%. I'm going to take a quote from the great theologian and orator Jay-Z, who once said, "You was who you was when you got here." So enjoy the process. Know that greatness is in you. You just got to step into it, put it on like that new suit or that new dress. Really walk in it. Continue to not only find yourself, but we get the significant gift of being able to create ourselves. You know, who you were yesterday, who you were 5 years ago, innately you're the same person, but you can make major changes and just constantly be on the path to bettering yourself. Like really study it. The same way you study these housewives and all of that, and what they're wearing and what they're doing. Study yourself. Figure out what makes you great, and be that. Do that. You know.
So my contribution, and I guess my wrap up to it all, is that I want people to understand that once you get there and once you find yourself and once you do all the things, understand that representation really does matter. So your Black confidence is needed. You are needed. You are influential and impactful. There are kids, there are not even just kids, there are people out there that are looking at you and you don't even understand the influence that you've had on them to become who they want to become you. And so once you find yourself, just understand that you have a duty to be there, to show up, to show out, and to just give yourself, give it your all, because somebody is really looking at you and they're like, oh, I want to be her. And that's me. Be impactful, be influential.
I love it. Well, there you have heard it. Be impactful, be influential. You came how you are. If you're provided the space, you deserve to be in the space. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, let's not waste it. I thank you so very much for tuning in with us today. I thank all of you, all the social capital on this screen. For those that are going to networking, I certainly hope that you meet someone, connect with someone new. We will be here again next week, same time, same place for Black Health in Focus. Send me a text to make sure that I know to tell y'all how networking works. So those of you that are backstage on the left side of the screen, you will see what's happening now live over the handshake. You will click that button. When you click that button, It will take you to a screen where you then can say if you're ready or not. There'll be a blue ready button. Click that blue ready button, and then at that point, you will randomly be paired up with those that are behind stage. And if you two want to stay in contact with one another, there will be a blue connect button at the very top of your screen. As long as you both hit that connect, your contact information will show up in one another's dashboard. Think of them as like business cards when you're heading to a trade show. So again, everybody, I will see you here, same time, same place next week as we kick off a discussion, Black Health in Focus. We are bringing a national Black conference to Louisville, Kentucky in 2022 with some quarterly events in 2021. So I'm looking forward to sharing all about it. Thanks so much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Beautiful people.
Thanks for having us.
This was awesome. Thank you.
This was so good. Thank you.
I enjoyed it.